All right, guys, 2017 is just around the corner. It's the time of year where everybody decides to make New Year's resolutions and change things. So if you're struggling at all as a trader, if you like the idea of changing your trading around to where you only trade for a couple hours each morning and dramatically improve your winning percentage and daily profits, our January 28th trading course can help you achieve that. And through the end of January 1st, through midnight January 1st, we're running a 60% off sale. Never done that before. It's a great time to turn your trading around. I honestly believe we can help you do that. All right, the watch list. The SPY kind of took a nasty hit today considering we're still in holiday trading. That's a pretty good move compared to see the range on the candles the last week or so. And then today, pretty good range on a little bit of increased volume. It's no panic event. I mean, it came down and touched the 20-day. So we're just going to go about trading as usual. Keep in mind, it is a lower volume time. And so things are pretty spready at the moment. If you're not trading something that's really got some news, it's really important to be in the stocks that are in play, if you will. All right, so this one, CHNR, 4 days ago got this big volume spike. Back here in mid-November had this huge move. So I mean, that's one thing that I look for is, can the stock make huge moves? CHNR certainly can. Had a decent move about 4 sessions ago, and today held up really well in a pretty ugly tape, right? So this one's worth watching for a potential long, but I suspect it might be, unless there's news, might not be enough volume to get me too interested in that thing. Now, FBIO, there's nothing interesting at all about this chart, except I found in after hours it's trading at 344, went as high as almost $4. So if it opens somewhere around here, you know, we're set to open all the way up here. It's certainly an interesting, I don't even know what the news was, but it's certainly an interesting potential gap and go tomorrow. It'll definitely be on watch. CLRB, this is kind of obscure, but it's kind of just, it's got nice support at $1.20. It's had a couple recent spikes. Today's high was 139, a little bit of extra volume today. It's kind of interesting if it can break through this 20-day, get up into the $1.40 something area, then it might break through this high, which was $1.43, and maybe get going. This is, I don't know, it's probably my least favorite because it's, I really like to play the stocks that are getting high, recent relative volume, and this is one that I sort of stumbled across and thought, yeah, maybe that could work. And actually, one of my trading rules on an intraday basis is if I ever feel like, if I catch myself feeling like, yeah, maybe that could work, I generally have that trigger a new response that tells me not to take the trade. So keep that in mind. I'm not that interested in this one, but I thought I'd share the chart because it is a little bit interesting. But this is more along the lines of recent high relative volume, CYCC. I had a really nice trade in this one today. It did close well off its highs. So for me, you know, you had a nice spike back here. You had a nice day and a half run here. For me, I'd like to see this come in for a day or two, but I'm already going to start with it on my radar tomorrow. Well, it was on my radar today too. But I do think that one needs to come in a bit. Definitely keep it on your radar. CNAT gapped up, 3 days down, and then in 2 days just ripped. Everybody who was short ripped their faces off. Today, an inside day on lower volume. Again, this one is way away from the moving averages, so it feels like it needs to come in. But because of that huge 2-day move, it becomes interesting to me already tomorrow, so I'm definitely going to watch it. MSDI, I got an afternoon trade in this one, made about $300, nothing to write home about, but it caught my attention today, and so it goes back on watch tomorrow. Definitely a big volume pop. Although it closed well off its highs, I think it is definitely worth watching tomorrow, only with a proper low-risk setup. And keep that in mind. Every trade I take, and I say this all the time to my the traders in the chat room and to anyone else who will listen. If you can't explain to somebody standing over your shoulder, it can be a real person or an imaginary person, but there should always, as you're trading, be somebody standing over your shoulder in your mind, okay? If you can't explain to that person exactly why you're taking the trade, why you're taking the entry at that exact moment in detail, then don't take the trade. That is a great policy to live by. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, meaning reasons for a trade, then you probably shouldn't be trading until you get a better grip on why you take trades. If you saw our webinar the other day on inflection points, that was a little window into kind of my mindset as I trade, okay? Inflection points are everything to me, and I don't take a trade unless I have a stock that's setting up as such. And that's why I say every trade I take, I can give you a detailed reason why I take it. Doesn't mean I'm right? It doesn't mean it's going to play out the way I think. But I can absolutely explain to you in detail probably 3 or 4 or 5 different reasons why I take a trade at any given moment. And if I can't, I won't take the trade. So there's a little 2017 trading tip for you. So that's DRAM. Definitely goes on watch today. It was I posted the chart yesterday on StockTwits when it was just breaking above. It was probably right about here at the time. Said something like it's a really handsome chart, and man, did it play out. Again, this one needs to come in, but it's going to go on watch tomorrow because you never know. Sometimes the very next day you get a very low risk intraday setup that I can explain the entry in detail as it's setting up, right? And so sometimes the very next day you can still get a nice trade. Definitely goes on watch. ENG. Now this is weird because today's candle, and this happens to me on eSignal sometimes. If anyone that has eSignal wants to explain why this happens, I'm all ears. But today's candle isn't showing, and I don't know why. So this is showing you yesterday's candle, and it closed at 246, went all the way up over 270, and you'll see what I mean when I switch to 15-minute candles here. Today's high was below 250, and you can see it was a quiet inside day, right? You go back to the daily, and you don't see today's candle. It's really frustrating. Maybe by tomorrow it'll iron itself out. But because of that huge pop and then a quiet inside day, I want to watch ENG. I'm going to put Weight Watchers WTW back on watch. It gapped up, and then a lot of times the stock gaps up, it goes into a range, okay? So you have a range here, basically between $11 and $12.50, and now it's getting down to the bottom of that range, which also coincides with what I call the buy zone between the 8 and the 20 moving average. So if this can come down around the whole number 11, I'll be looking for an intraday setup for a bounce, or we'll see if it gives a different kind of setup too. But Weight Watchers goes on watch. MBRX. Huge 3-day move, really most of it was yesterday. Today, quiet inside day. And remember, the market was weak today, so if the market shows any strength, stuff like this, these recent high flyers are certainly worth looking at. And then lastly, I have SGY, which no trades in it today. It was on bounce watch as recently as 2 days ago, right? I started watching it for the pullback for a turn back up. It didn't give me any trades that day. And then today we were watching it for a bounce again. It didn't give me any trades again today. So that's what I talk about. Has to meet my parameters on an intraday basis. If not, it's a no trade and it just goes back on watch the next day. This is still a really clean setup. Huge 4-day move. Declining volume on the pullback right to the 20-day. Also recent resistance right here. Could become support. So this is still a very clean setup. Also, we're going to add gappers in the morning, and I will leave it at that. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.